This is really amazing what's transpired. We're talking about the arrival of Caitlin Clark out of Iowa after what she did on behalf of NCAA women's basketball and what she's done in the first couple of months in the WNBA. Their games are sold out. Their TV ratings are through the roof. Pay scales have gone up. They've resurrected a whole different set of rules on behalf of the union representing the women that Caitlin Clark has kind of brought to the forefront because of who she is. And instead, she's on a bad team. Indiana Fever just don't have a lot of players, homegrown product and all that. But she's been the victim of brutal fouls, and she's been the victim of really crappy treatment by other female players in the WNBA. And I don't quite understand it. I think it's jealousy. I think it's stupidity. I think it's kind of classless. She's a hard player. Does she talk trash? Yeah. But there's a lot more trash being talked by other people. And the hard fouls, she's had really violent fouls in 4 games in the last 2 weeks, fouls that could have resulted in shoulder separation or a broken forearm. I'm talking hatchet shots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the Indiana Fever went to the WNBA and said, this is not permissible. This is a great player who's getting butchered by the Angel Reeses of the world, who are then acting like punks celebrating on the sideline when Caitlin Clark gets knocked out of a game because she gets shaken up. I mean, we're talking forearm shivers to the neck, to the back, face first plants after getting tripped.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of crapola. And then you see the Chicago Sky led by Angel Reese standing on the bench cheering and going, yeah. Now, Angel Reese has been fined a couple of times for what she just did. But why is it like that? You know, and I stand up and say, that woman has meant so much to women's college basketball, and her arrival in the NBA has now made the whole thing very, very different. You need to appreciate, A, she's a star and how good she is, and B, what she's brought. Pay raises for all the stars in the league, more visibility, record TV ratings. By the way, you're not flying commercial flights at 12:05 a.m. You're now on charters every team because of the impact that Caitlin Clark's had. So I'm shocked how crappy people have been to her, and now the fans are starting to come to her side. There was an incident on Tuesday night where the Chicago Sky got hassled at a team hotel getting off the bus on a road trip because of what the Chicago Sky people, led by Angel Reese, did to Caitlin Clark. So now the fans are at the team hotel begging on these other WNBA players for doing what they did. So, John, you standing next to Caitlin Clark, or are you pointing at her across the court?
This is a complicated issue. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
And I mean, it's way beyond the scope of sports. Is she the golden goose that's bringing a lot of attention to the WNBA? Absolutely. That's obvious. She's getting punked because she's a rookie and because she's the star, and they're going after her for that, kind of like an initiation sort of thing. But is Angel Reese getting the initiation? Because she's a rookie too, right? So there's a bit of a disconnect, inconsistency here. People are saying this is race-based, and it depends on what angle you look at it. Because I think when white people see a black player pulling a thuggish move and knocking over a white person, I think some white people get all up in arms about it. And then other times, black people might react differently to that. And it turns into this racial thing when maybe that wasn't really the intent of the forearm shiver. It was mostly because she was the top of the heap. And the WNBA players are probably saying, well, we've been here for years. We've been kicking butt and, scoring points. And, we're all stars. It's not just Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, but they may have been stars in a league that nobody paid attention to, and you were making horrible salaries, and your travel conditions were brutal. And this all flipped and changed with the new TV deals that were generated because of her. So respect the player. Is it like a fraternity or a sorority, and they're kind of punking her? Because I think it's deeper than that. And I think of Angel Reese, and the only thing I think is a year ago, LSU, when they eliminated Caitlin in the NCAA tournament, and she was the one who was walking down the court. My ring, look at my ring.
Yeah,
look at my ring. In her face, turned around, look at my ring. Caitlin Clark didn't respond, just walked away.
Well, but Caitlin Clark did it to her previously. And that's why the whole thing, you only saw the second punch, as it were, in that whole thing. This is nuts. The societal implications, and it's crossed over into mainstream news, and everyone else has got an opinion here. But have you ever seen any other sport, any other athlete that has gotten this initiation treatment?
Not in the WNBA. I'm sure some of that stuff goes on in the NFL and to a degree, maybe in Major League Baseball, but not to the tune like this on national TV. It just kind of wow. Now the media is involved in this too.
Yeah, of course.
ESPN, they got some warring factions on ESPN. First of all, Stephen A. Smith pops off and is talking about Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, the incidents, etc. And he goes off on one of his tangents. If he was driving a car, he'd be going down the gully. He goes off on a tangent about, oh, I support the NBA, WNBA, and I've talked women's basketball and all their stars for years and years. And one of the co-hosts, Monique McNabb, comes on and said, what are you talking about, SAS? You had 3 years to talk about the WNBA. You never mentioned the WNBA on any of your TV shows until Caitlin Clark showed up and became a conversation point. So she's African American. She's begging on Stephen A. Smith. And then you got Pat McAfee. Former player turned loudmouth talk show host. So he's in the middle of this diatribe on ESPN also. And he calls her a white bitch. Why would you bring that into the conversation? That's a terrible thing to say. I mean, I never use that reference to an athlete or another person. I might criticize somebody, but I wouldn't. A white bitch. What a terrible thing to say.
Yeah, that's nonsense. And it's one thing if there are legitimate racial issues that are going on, but if it's not race, based, then why are people injecting race into it and making it a thing? Like, the loudmouth talk show host, Pat McAfee. This is just remarkable. The media is all over this. But we were talking a little bit about WNBA before, Caitlin Clark. I mean, even in our podcast, we've had some conversation about it. Some of the players there are tremendous.
Oh, sure. But the history of the great players, but they were great individuals. Now suddenly this becomes a great league because there's been such an influx of great players from South Carolina, from LSU, obviously Caitlin Clark from Iowa. There's a lot more, quote, talent level there. But Clark is the tip of the spear in terms of visibility for the NBA. The TV ratings are through the roof, and they never watched WNBA till she arrived.
Okay, conspiracy theory. So maybe they're, firing up the players to be aggressive because they know it's going to lead to more fans and more people watch on TV.
Okay, we're getting to halftime.